Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into something truly mind-bending as we explore the teachings of Life Qianyuan Guide Shui Feng, or as it's known in the original text, Life Qianyuan Guide Yo Xie Feng the Jiaohui He Zhuzuo. We're looking at a deeply compelling framework titled How to Enjoy a Heavenly Life in Prison. Now, before you start picturing literal iron bars and concrete walls, we need to zoom out a bit. This text presents a radical way of looking at our physical reality, proposing a method to achieve ultimate spiritual liberation no matter what physical circumstances you find yourself in. It's a wild journey taking us from the unimaginable reaches of the cosmos straight down into the deepest layers of the human psyche. So let's jump right in. Here is our roadmap for This Explainer. We'll start with Section 1, the cosmic scale, then 2, the insignificant spark, 3, Earth as a prison, 4, 3 types of prisons, and finally, 5, escaping through the soul. Kicking things off with Section 1, the cosmic scale, our place in the universe. So, 100,000 light years, that is the diameter of our Milky Way galaxy. To help us even begin to wrap our heads around that, Shui Feng gives us this wild, grounded analogy. Imagine you're cruising in a car at exactly 100 kilometers per hour. If you never stopped, it would take you 10.8 million years just to drive a single light year. Now multiply that 10.8 million years by 100,000. That's what it would take to drive across our galaxy, which holds roughly 300 billion stars, just like our sun. The sheer size of it is almost paralyzing, right? But in Shui Feng's framework, this is literally just the starting line. Because here's the crazy part. Even with hundreds of billions of planets, the Milky Way is basically nothing in the grand scheme. Shui Feng uses this analogy. Imagine a higher cosmic structure called the Spiral River Galaxy is the size of a massive football field. Our entire Milky Way galaxy, it would be nothing more than a tiny grain of sand sitting on the grass. Let's step back even further to see how this whole hierarchy builds. We start at our solar system, which is a mere speck of dust. Then to the Milky Way, our grain of sand. Up to the river galaxy, the football field. And then we reach the Dharma Spiral Galaxy. If that Dharma Spiral Galaxy were the size of planet Earth, that football field-sized river galaxy is just one tiny playing field on it. And Zhuofeng explains that even this Earth-sized Dharma Spiral Galaxy is just a microscopic fragment of the entire Earth universe. The goal of outlining this totally incomprehensible scale isn't to give an astronomy lesson. It's a deliberate philosophical tool to reframe our entire earthly existence. Which brings us perfectly to Section 2, the insignificant spark, human existence. Having zoomed out to the absolute edge of the universe, we now bring the focus rushing right back down to humanity. This quote from the text is incredibly powerful. A human lifetime is but a fleeting spark, so brief that it wouldn't even amount to 1/10,000th of a single lightning flash on a cosmic scale. According to Shui Feng, when we compare ourselves to the billions of life forms across that vast universe we just mapped out, humans as physical beings are as insignificant as ants. Our time here isn't even a blink. So the crucial question becomes, with all this in mind, what is there to worry, stress, or grieve about in life? Seriously, Shui Feng uses the crushing weight of cosmic time and space to essentially trivialize our earthly debates. Why, the text asks, do we insist on holding on to things? Why waste our energy fighting on what's described as a snail's horn right in the middle of a microscopic lightning flash? This whole idea sets the stage for a radical detachment from our everyday earthly anxieties. And that detachment is necessary for Section 3, Earth as a prison, the Great Confinement. Okay, we need to redefine a word. When we hear prison, we naturally think of criminals, concrete blocks, and guards, but Shui Feng provides a much stricter, purely philosophical definition. A prison is simply any place that confines you and prevents your escape. That's it. It is entirely about the limitation of freedom and movement. And applying that exact definition leads to this central thesis. Earth itself is a massive prison, and everyone born here is a prisoner. According to the teachings of Life Qianyuan, humanity's baseline default state on this planet is one of fundamental incarceration. Because we are confined by gravity, by biology, and by the physical limits of our planet, we are all, philosophically speaking, inmates serving a life sentence. Moving right along to Section 4, 3 types of prisons, body, spirit, and soul. Shui Feng argues that this confinement isn't just physical. It happens on multiple layered levels of our existence. First, the body. This is the literal prison we usually think of, physical incarceration or national borders that prevent you from leaving a country. But then we get to the spirit.
Here, Xufeng categorizes everyday, normalized social structures as literal prisons. Marriage, family obligations, emotional entanglements, and financial debt. These are all viewed as programs that bind and confine our spirit, completely preventing true freedom. And finally, we hit the most profound layer, the soul. According to the text, the soul is imprisoned by the very constructs human society uses to organize itself. Things like science, religion, morality, law, knowledge, and societal ethics. These are all frameworks that fence in our consciousness. So if everything from gravity to your family to science itself is a prison, how does anyone ever get out?
That massive question leads us to our final section, number 5, escaping through the soul, the path to paradise. Remember that car earlier, the one taking 10.8 million years to travel one single light year? Well, to figure out how we travel the vast cosmos we looked at, the text points toward the strange phenomena of quantum mechanics, specifically spooky action at a distance. While our physical bodies are stuck going exactly 100 kilometers an hour, Shuofeng posits that the unconfined soul is absolutely not bound by those physics. The soul can actually traverse these incomprehensible cosmic distances instantly. And where exactly does the soul go? The text maps out several magnificent cosmic destinations. Instead of focusing on earthly illusions, a Chanyuan celestial focuses their spiritual journey entirely on these realms. There's a planet 96 light-years away that is 10 times the size and beauty of Earth. Another one, 3,480 light-years away, 16 times larger and perfectly habitable. And way beyond all that lies the Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world, an absolute paradise 3 times the entire size of the Milky Way. The universe offers billions of years of exploration, provided you can mentally navigate to it. To pull this off, the text draws heavily on ancient wisdom, specifically quoting the Heart Sutra. When the Bodhisattva Avalokitesvara was practicing deep Prajnaparamita, he perceived that all 5 aggregates were empty and thereby overcame all suffering and distress. Xufeng completely aligns with this idea. To overcome the suffering of our earthly prison, we have to completely empty ourselves of our physical attachments. We basically have to realize the physical world is largely just an illusion. Which leads to this very direct, highly practical instruction, a complete rejection of sensory input. Do not believe what you see, what you hear, smell, taste, or touch. Why? Because those physical senses belong strictly to the physical body. And remember, the body is imprisoned on Earth. The text directs us to believe only in what our soul perceives. That is literally the only instrument capable of grasping true unconfined reality. This presents the ultimate paradox in Xufeng's philosophy. On one hand, you could have a billionaire living in a massive mansion, driving luxury cars, holding immense wealth. But if their soul is all tangled up in debt, family obligations, and earthly anxieties, if their soul is imprisoned, they are captive. They are effectively living in hell. On the flip side, someone could be physically locked in a literal prison cell wearing rags or living in a simple thatched hut. But if their soul is free to instantly roam the Elysium world, they are a true celestial being living in a heavenly paradise. It really all comes down to the mind. Life is just an ephemeral illusion passing by in a fraction of a lightning flash. Why let those fleeting worldly affairs trap you? Which brings us to our final question for you to ponder today as we wrap up this explainer. Are you living in a mental prison, or are you ready to embrace formless thinking? By letting go of the illusions of the physical world and unlocking your soul, Xufeng's teaching suggests that you too can enjoy a heavenly life no matter what prison you might currently find yourself in. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep exploring.